Alright, it's that time again. Game night, everybody. So, for those of you who may be too young to know, way back in the day, there was a board game called Trivial Pursuit, which had a literal board. It was a square, but it had a wheel and that shape on it. And everybody had a little disc, also shaped like this. And the basics of the game were that you rolled the dice, move your little piece around the board in any direction you wished. The space you landed on would indicate the type of question you would get. If you landed in one of these intersections between the outer wheel and a spoke, and you answered that question successfully, you would get a little wedge. It looked like a slice of pie. Get one of each 6 colors in your little disc, then you can move to the middle, answer like a final card, and you got to win the game. I may be fuzzy on a couple of details, but that was the essence of it. Needless to say, not the best game design, just total tedium. Thankfully, after a few decades, they've learned, and now Trivial Pursuit is just the questions and a dice. No more having with tedium. Although the games themselves now come in a box reminiscent of that wedge and a kind of tribute to where it came from and its history. Supernatural has released 2 editions of this game. The first one, Join the Hunt. You get a stack of cards, a dice, and this neat little container shaped like a wedge. I do like the padding having the anti-possession symbol on it. The instructions, pretty much broken down right there, all you need to know, because it's really simple. Roll your dice. That tells you which question you got. So, I rolled the orange car, join the hunt type. So I would pick up this card, and we would read this question. What is Sheriff Jody Mills recovering from in Sioux Falls General Hospital when Leviathan take over the hospital? And then you'd have to try and guess. Have you figured it out without Googling it? I think it's like appendicitis or something. Oh, an appendectomy. That should be half credit. So the proper rules are you'd answer 1 card. If you get it right, you go for a second card and get a wedge. First one to 6 wins. Of course, the structure is general enough that you can speed it up, answer a question, get the card, or if someone's a little too good at it, even have gauntlets where they have to answer all the possible questions in order to win the card. Pretty basic, pretty simple. The one thing I do kind of miss about the old version is, categories on here. Well, you don't necessarily have to answer all 6, depending upon how the die rolls. Like, say you're pretty good at Winchester Brothers here, you could get several of those in a row and win the game. I do feel like it seems like somebody should have to answer all 6. Of course, the problem is how do you keep track of which one people have answered? This is where it probably would have been nice for maybe a couple little colored tokens or something to put in here for the players to keep track of that sort of thing. Though you could probably go to Hobby Lobby and pick something like that up. The actual categories in this first set are the Winchester Brothers, Angels and Demons, Locations, Spells, Objects and Rituals, Creatures, and Join the Hunt. Of course, I haven't gone quite through all the questions. I've only found one wrong one so far, but a good little pickup for those that want to do a contest of Winchester trivia. Since then, we've now had another version come out called the Men of Letters Edition. Again, similar setup. I've left my little dividers in to help hold them. Doesn't have the supernatural decoration. I'm kind of sad about that. And as you can tell, the dice is the pie form of the old Trivial Pursuit pieces. A nice touch. These are engraved. The previous dice, this is just a printed picture. So if you do this a whole lot, the images might rub off some. This seems to be solid white dice, and then the lower parts painted the colors. So this will probably last longer and is less likely to rub off. You can also see the new one is a little more stylized, like Trivial Pursuit than Supernatural, but I'll admit that seems like a bit of a meta joke, since the Men of Letters were all about records and history, that their version of the game has a lot of tributes in history to the Trivial Pursuit game itself. This one, you can tell they have some of the same categories, but things have shifted around a little bit. Still got the Winchester brothers and Heaven and Hell. So, now instead of locations, it's road trip. Spells, objects, and rituals are now lore, legend, and mythology. Join the hunt, hunters, and scholars, probably the biggest change. A single note, see right here where it says, getting started, remove the packaging from the cards. I kid you not, when I unwrapped this, it looked exactly like this, except it was all wrapped up. So, ironically, if you got this game, you couldn't actually read the instructions to open up the package until you opened up the package. That doesn't affect the scoring. That just amuses me. The rules are still only on a single card, same standard as before. And you can kind of see the old cards had a rough kind of papyrus grit to their images. They're not actually that. They're still, as you can see here, the gloss on the card, but the graphics on it make it want to look like it's an old page, whereas these are perfect and pristine. Even on the back, they have the tape as if this is attached into someone's journal, whereas here it's just has the Men of Letters symbol and then your answers. Just recently acquired this, haven't got to go through and check much of the answers. I have noticed on here you'll see things like who sacrificed himself to trap Lucifer forever in an alternate reality. Okay, we all know that's Crowley from the end of season 12. Whereas this copy, you'll notice, has a copyright of 2016, which of course 2016 is the year season 12 began, and considering the time these things take to development, obviously this has no questions from seasons 12 onward. Whereas this set will cover seasons 13 and on. I haven't noticed anything in here from season 14. And seems mostly related to those seasons and other things related to the Men of Letters, as far as I can tell. One nice feature about these Trivial Pursuit games is the lids and the bottoms are designed to fit together, so if you get multiple of them, will stack and store nicely. And yeah, they're pretty much Trivial Pursuit, the ultimate geek game, especially for those that want to argue about the answers and whether it should be the Moors or the Moops and what exactly Bobby sold his soul for. I like that they have essentially boiled the game down to its sheer essence. You just need a dice and the questions. The boxes themselves aren't that big, good for travel size. So if you want to take one to a con and have some showdowns with other fans in a line, see who's the biggest fan of all, it's good for that. Do you need both versions? If I had to pick one, I slightly like this version better because of the skin and style on the game. This one feels much more like Supernatural, whereas this one feels much more like Trivial Pursuit. Although if you want to get both, they're not that expensive. Links to purchase will be down below. The later games, the cards are a slightly higher quality as well as the dice. Definitely recommend the hardcore fan get at least one of these, or both if you like something to cover every era of the game. I actually kind of wish Trivial Pursuit had, say, one set covering most of the show and then release little, maybe season packs of 20, 30 cards. Like, here's questions from season 1, and here's some questions from season 2, and all the way up to, we're going to have 15 seasons coming up soon. We're going to need a third one of these. Until next time, let's see if you can figure out these questions.